Hi, welcome to a quick video a couple of people have asked me to put together to show how I go about recording game footage. Apparently some people are saying the quality is quite nice and would like to know how I go about doing it. So the tool I'm using for recording video is Bandicam. Bandicam offers a couple of cool features that Fraps doesn't. A lot of people use Fraps, I think primarily because they don't know there are better tools out there. Bandicam is good. There's another one called DxStory which has very similar feature set to Bandicam. Can do a couple of other things that this can't, but for my needs this works fine. Okay, so primarily the thing it lets me do that Fraps doesn't is record audio to a second audio track in the AVI file that it's recording. So let's just have a go through the setup just so you can see how I personally record things. So I'll go through each of the tabs. So General tab. Now this should go without saying, but for those that are new to recording video from games, it's best that you don't have it recording to the same disk as either your operating system or your the drive where the game is installed. Let's say you have your games installed on another drive. Now I also like to keep it free of anything that's got like the page file or the temp folders installed on there as well. So this is I have a H drive which is USB 3 attached, so it's not the fastest drive you can get, but it's plenty fast enough to record 1080p in either Fraps mode, which Fraps is pretty much uncompressed, not quite, but it doesn't compress it a lot, and there's plenty of bandwidth there, so USB's fine. You would probably be pushing it with USB 2, but if you've got a fairly recent computer, you should have USB 3. Okay, so let's have a go through the options. In fact, in this tab I don't really think there's much. These are just the application options. Nothing really special there. Here you can set up the hotkey that you want to use and also some other settings. So here on the sound tab we can set it to well, basically you get the option to record 2 audio tracks if you want. Also, don't need that. Under image, don't need that, that's if you're capturing screenshots. Under video we've also got the video format, so for quality you've really got 2 options. They are RGB24, which is lossless, or motion JPEG and put the quality to 100, and that's fine, that's more than fine. That's motion JPEG quality 100 is equivalent, I think, to Fraps quality. Fraps, as I mentioned earlier, isn't quite lossless and neither is motion JPEG, but you get enough of a balance between quality and file size. Under audio I'm recording to PCM. Now you can use MPEG-1 L2. I've noticed some issues with Bandicam when using MPEG-1. So for example, World of Warcraft would crash on me if I used MPEG-1. So I'm using PC1, which is uncompressed audio. Here you can also set the frame rate to whichever you desire. Just a quick note, if you're uploading to YouTube, I think if you upload in anything above 30, it downsamples it anyway, I think. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Okay, so that's that. It's pretty much it. You set up your hotkey that you want to use to start the recording. Similar problems in Bandicam that you'll get with Fraps is if you've got a full screen application, sometimes it doesn't quite pick up the fact that you've pressed the key. I'm not sure how other people get around this. Personally, I will restart Bandicam after I've started the game that I want to record. So Rage is a good example of it not picking up the fact that Rage was started if Bandicam was loaded when Rage was started. So it's kind of, yeah, a bit picky like that. Okay, so that's Bandicam. So let's go through the process of recording some footage from a game and then editing it all together and encoding it. So I'm going to launch Dungeon Defenders, primarily because it runs in 720p and in a window, so you'll be able to see it on this screen here. So let's start that up. Let's leave. Well, Bandicam's already running, so what I'll do is I'll record some footage of the game. I've already got some, so we'll use that. You pretend that I'm not recording the screen at the moment. So let's start that up. No, but Dungeon Defenders is being its usual bitch and being ridiculously fucking loud when you start the game, and also not remembering the fact that I told it I don't want it in full screen. I think it might be because it's just recently been patched, so still said full screen. Okay, so we have our game. At this point I would normally hit my record stop key, set the game going, play the game, blah blah blah. You don't really need me to run through that point. It's essentially start the game first. If it's a full screen game, start Bandicam, hit my pause key, job's a good one. So we'll close the game and we'll have a look in our record folder. So we've got Dund Def Game, which is this folder here. So this is a clip I recorded a couple of days ago. So let's go over to Vegas Pro, which is the software I use to edit my videos together. Now any video editing tool that you want to use is absolutely fine. Bandicam and the same for Fraps, they both add in the codecs that they use to record video into the system, so you can pretty much use any editing tool you want. Vegas do lots of really kind of cut down versions of their tools for quite cheap, so I don't know the US price, but usually about £40 for the cut down version, and really the only main difference is that you're limited to the amount of tracks you can use. So I think it's 10, which if you're doing a let's play is way more than you're ever going to need. So all we do, drag the video into the timeline. Now what it would not do the first time is it calculates these audio tracks, like the peak files for that, so that can take a little time. Yeah, so we've got the video in there, so let's go through some project settings first. So this was recorded in 720p at 30 frames a second, so we need to make sure that at the very least we render out at the same settings, but it's good to have the project in the same settings as well. So somewhere in here we'll have a 720p 30 frames a second, which is fine. Now a lot of people make this mistake when they're recording videos, and I think it can detract from the quality a little bit. So always try and make sure that you capture your footage at the same frame rate that you're going to be rendering it to. So if you are uploading to YouTube, your main options are 25 frames a second, 29.97, which is NTSC, or 30. So try and capture at those settings. If we go back to Bandicam, we'll see that we have those three options there. I've captured at 30, so project needs to be at 30. I'll show you what happens if it's not at the same. So let's drop it down to 25. Okay, so what you'll notice is you kind of, let's go through frame by frame. Oh, our disk's catching up. Probably doesn't help that I'm recording and skimming through this file at the same time. You probably can't see that, but the things that are moving here, you kind of get a motion blur effect on them because it's interpolating the frames to get the thing I've recorded to the same frame rate as the project. There, you can see it here, look. It looks horrible. A lot of people make this mistake. So you've got two options, like I say, either record at the same frame rate as you're going to encode to, or if you've done it differently, what you can do is you right click on your video track and go to disable resample, and that stops it from interpolating the frames. It might make the playback a little bit jerkier, but meh, it's your choice really, which way you want to do it. Right, so 30 frames a second, which we don't get that option in here. Okay, so that's that. The fact that we've got the audio recorded on two separate tracks is really useful. The upper track here is the game sounds and Skype, so that will be my brother on Skype. So if we play that back,
are we gonna do the? Sorry.
Right, that's that. I don't know what he was laughing at there. And if we have a look at this track here. Hi, welcome back to... Right, so there you go, me stammering my lines again. So the great thing about that is if, let's say, I've said something I shouldn't have done, I can quite easily just kind of, using the split key, I can just cut that out, which is nice. And it also allows you to change the volumes independently if one of us is too quiet or too loud, so that's nice as well. Okay, so let's assume we've done any kind of editing we need to do and chop bits off the bottom. Let's just go into the game here. So we're in the game. So this is a bit we want to record from. Double click the clip to set the region we want to render out on. Go to File, Render As. Okay, so in Vegas you it's changed in 11, so let's have a look. We have the main option you would probably want to use out of the box is the Sony AVC/MVC MP4 M2 TS AVC options. These are okay, they work fine. A lot of the videos I've uploaded are done like this. Again, there's always one thing to note. So if we go into customize template, in here in the drop down, if it's going to let me change it, you can't set 30 frames a second. That's weird, right? No, I mean you can type it in, but if you try and render out using that, it doesn't work. It'll just error straight away. And this is something to do with this particular bundled encoder. It's trying to conform to standards, and I think, like for playing back on TVs and whatnot, you're not really supposed to use 30 frames a second. But all PCs play it fine. So I've steered away from using this codec. I now use the Video for Windows codec. Under the customized template, I'm actually using X264 Video for Windows pack. This works fine with 30 frames a second, and I've set the bitrate to, for 720p, 10 meg is fine. If you're using 1080p, depending on the game, you would only use 15 or 20. So as an example of how I would differentiate that, WoW, because it has a lot of text on screen and no motion blur, I use 20 meg. And for Battlefield 3, it has blur and a very minimized UI. 15 meg is fine. Maybe 10 meg would actually be fine, but I've not actually tried that. But either way, make some, go into customize template, make some templates up for varying bit rates and video sizes as needed. So we're going to use the Let's Play 10 meg, and let's just call that test AVI, and then that is pretty much it. That's going to render. It's going to take a little while, depending on the speed of your PC. It might take longer. Just to have a look through my specs of my PC whilst that's going on in the background. I have, let's have a look at the system properties. So I have a Intel Core i7 2600K. It's actually overclocked, and I can tell you what that looks like on pass mark scores. That's my CPU there. It's actually overclocked up to nearly 12K. There we go. So and the render speed using this can take, I'd say, about 1.5 times as long as the video is. So this is a 46-minute video, so you're probably looking about 1 hour 20 minutes to render that. It's not the fastest renderer, but what we're trying to do here is go for quality, right? So because we're rendering stuff at a relatively high bit rate, it does take a bit longer. So yeah, so we're not actually going to render that yet. That's to be uploaded soon. And that's pretty much it. You can just upload that straight to YouTube now. YouTube will re-encode it using its encoder, and it will come out decent quality. Okay, I'll leave it there. I probably rambled on far too long, and yeah, we'll see you next time for a Let's Play, or maybe a guide to something. See you later.